Hello and welcome to the Now We Know Show Flashback, an exclusive episode for our patrons and YouTube members. In the Flashback, we revisit a topic from a past episode chosen at random. We then see where the conversation goes with whoever we have in the studio. In this episode, we have...
Glenn!
Hey, how you all doing?
Hi, Glenn.
So the topic of this week's episode is going to be...
Vampires.
Vampires. The blood-sucking vampires.
Which
was episode
23.
3.
If I recall, that was
I
actually
think somebody's
during...
counting Dracula.
Yeah, Shocktober last year. That was with Sarah Downing.
Sarah Downing, our vampire specialist. But we have got our cryptozoologist in the studio. Oh, we're talking vampires. There we go. Anything vampire related. So, Glenn, do you believe in vampires?
I believe in vampires.
Hey!
So, I've never been able to decide. Well, I think I have. I was going to say between what's better, vampire or werewolf. I tend to veer on the werewolf side. I don't know.
But what about that painful transformation?
Yeah, it's just I think vampires. It depends on the vampire. Because if you get vampires, I don't want sparkly vampires. Do you? Let's just not go there.
Don't go there. We're not talking about those
We're
vampires.
not doing Twilight. Sparkly vampires can take a run and jump. But it's kind of like I can't work out whether vampires are. If you want to be a vampire, or sometimes they kind of like a bit like Nosferatu, or you kind of Salem's Lot vampire. They look a bit smelly and old, and you think, well,
you don't want to be one of those.
Do I really be? Do I know?
But think of the positives when it comes to being a vampire. Immortality.
Yeah.
Come on, that's got to be a good thing.
I really, really like the sun and summers.
Yeah.
See, whereas we're gingers.
We burn in
we
sun.
burn.
Maybe we are partially vampires.
Partially vampire genes.
But I might upset you a little bit here. When I say I believe in vampires, there are medical conditions out there where something to do with anemia. I don't know the full extent of it. I've not looked into it for quite a while, but instead of taking medication, which I believe includes injecting into your bones, which is very, very painful, there is a natural remedy where you can drink blood. So I was watching a documentary many years ago now where this young fella had this illness and he would go to his local butcher's, this is out in America, and he would buy blood and then he would drink it. He would pour it out of a bottle into a cup and he would drink it. And if he did that, he wouldn't need to go to the hospital once a month to get these painful injections.
He obviously wasn't a vegan.
Yeah. Quite possibly not.
Well,
that would offend a few.
That would be a dilemma, being a vegan vampire.
Vegan with this deficiency.
Well, if I recall, wasn't Count Dracula a vegetarian?
Count Dracula?
Don't you remember Count Dracula?
I can't remember Count Dracula.
You might be a little young.
A little young for Count Dracula.
It was a spin-off from Danger Mouse.
Yeah.
Oh.
But also, there is there used to be a very big underground nightclub scene in several places around the world, Los Angeles being one of them, where there were vampire clubs and people would go and they would drink each other's blood. They would get a razor blade, they would cut their finger or their hand and let people...
This is like a scene out of Blade.
Very similar, similar. And you'll enjoy the next point I make.
Oh yeah. Why are you pointing at me, Glenn?
I've been to one of these clubs.
Oh yes.
Ooh. Yes.
Was it tasty?
So I didn't drink any blood, but people did drink my blood.
All right.
You a vampire?
No, I don't think so.
He's a vessel.
Get a mirror. Get a mirror.
Quick, he's feeding the vampires.
So I was working in Budapest years ago. It was a work training course when I was a youth worker. And in
this throws up so many questions. I'm sorry. Carry on.
In the evening, we would leave the hostel and go into the main city and just go find a bar or a club, and
or a vampire club with Grace Jones.
That's exactly what it was. It was a vampire club.
A vampire.
It was in a basement which looked like a disused underground station.
Okay.
So it was a long cylinder
We've gone into now. We're going into like American Wolf in Paris like zone now.
Yeah. Very similar.
How many movies can we get into this?
But yeah, I was there with this Russian girl.
Right, Russian girl in Budapest in a vampire club,
Drinking blood.
You can't make this up.
I like to get out there and do different things.
Okay.
Raises more questions.
Okay, so what bit were they sucking on? Is what I'm trying.
So
Woohoo!
I accidentally cut my finger
Oh, right, I think it
It was an
on
accident.
a glass.
On a glass.
And
Suddenly pounced on by
not the Russian girl I was with, but another girl there
pounced on you.
grabbed my hand and just shoved my finger in her mouth and started sucking
That could-
away.
Did you know beforehand that it was a vampire club? Or was this...
It looked very goth / techno
So there's Glenn sitting there,
kind of thing, which I was into at the time.
Yeah.
beer in one hand, girl sucking his finger in the other,
Wow.
going, "What's going on?"
What a night out.
It was an incredible night out. It really was.
Did you feel drained the following morning?
I'm not going to go into how I felt the following morning because I went back with this Russian girl and that's a completely different story. But there was a bottle of vodka involved. She was Russian.
Crikey.
Yeah, it was.
It was General on the top.
It was Tatiana.
Tatiana. Definitely.
I'm not going to say her surname.
We're going back to the vampires.
Yeah,
We're
back
going
to the vampire
Back
club.
to vampire. Yeah. So anyway,
you've got this vampire. Bitty. On your finger.
Stop it, you.
I don't know if these clubs still exist. I've not really looked into it.
I take it is this pre-AIDS, by the way?
No, I'm not that old. No, it was. I'm trying to think. Would have been
You kind of think that once the AIDS epidemic came out, that they might have had second thoughts.
late 90s,
Oh, no.
96, 97 time.
Right,
Just
so this-
before the first Blade movie. Ooh.
But yeah, it was an incredible.
Okay.
trip.
So this lady sucking on your finger. Then what happened?
I just partied.
He just partied.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was glamoured.
He was glamoured.
Yeah,
That's it. Woke up the next morning with like bite marks all over him.
Well, that's the thing with vampires. They have all these special other abilities that it depends on the interpretation of the vampire.
I mean, I don't
Isn't
know
it?
if some of these are kind of like folklore tropes or whether they're movie tropes, but you kind of they vampires can turn into a mist. Yeah, I always
Yeah.
loved that. The idea they could come in, turn into a mist, and come in under the door. Or
Well, that was Bram Stoker who originally came up with those kind of things. I mean, the legend of vampires had been around a long time before that. I don't know if turning into mist or not was one of those things.
Uh-huh.
But the whole garlic thing, vampires not liking garlic, that actually dates back to if there was some kind of illness going around the village. Obviously, garlic works as a bit of a
people used to
medicinal.
people used to do that in the time of the plague, the bubonic plague.
Yeah.
When they had the plague masks, which for those listening, if you think of the plague masks, where you have the plague. They're kind of like beaks, aren't they?
See, whenever I see a plague mask, I think Spy versus Spy, if you know what that is.
Spy versus Spy.
It's like a Mad Magazine comic strip.
Okay. Yeah, it's ringing a bell. It was from Mad Magazine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not for me.
I used to love that because I always used to like folding up the cover because you got like you fold a three-way fold on the cover to make
Not
it
in
so-
print anymore.
No,
it
Mad
stopped a
Magazine.
few years ago.
Oh dear. I might still have some of them in the attic. Anyway, so
Hang on to 'em.
yeah. So the where were we?
Going back to the abilities thing.
Yes.
Get back to
We're
the
talking about
abilities.
the mist.
The mist. No. Yeah, we were talking.
You know, like Nosferatu, he could change into a shadow. There's that iconic shot as he's going up the stairs as a shadow.
As a shadow, and they kind of did that in the Dracula one with actor England,
I know what
and
you're thinking
Keanu
of.
Reeves doing the really
Yeah,
bad
Bram
English.
Stoker's
Bram
Dracula.
Stoker's Dracula.
Right,
Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman,
Gary
thank
Oldman.
you, Zach.
Legend.
The man of many
They
faces.
did that in there because his shadow moves.
Mm.
At times when he's not moving.
Then he kind of had that bat wolf creature thing that he changed into.
Yeah, it's because of, again, the tropes are that vampires can turn into wolves, vampires can turn into bats, and that was kind of like a between the two, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I like that in Jerry Dandridge is living next door to that guy in Fright Night.
Oh yeah.
And there's wolves in that. Do you remember? I think.
Oh, it's a freaky wolf.
Wolf thing.
After he falls down the stairs.
He's sort of like
Blimey.
heart between
That
wolf
always
and
freaks
human.
me out.
Yeah, it's a freaky wolf.
Funny enough, I caught the last 20 minutes of a film the other day, which is the dance routine in it is just hilarious. Jim Carrey.
Oh yes.
In a vampire film called Once Bitten, and very similar to Fright Night, but done for comedy.
I've heard of it. I don't think I've seen it.
Yeah, it's worth a watch.
Okay. And there's a dance sequence.
Yeah.
We won't ask you.
Is it a comedy film, perchance?
It's Jim Carrey.
Okay.
we won't ask Glenn to do the dance.
Well, that was actually funny
because he's still got
I
his
know that
cast on his
Jim
leg.
Carrey's he's one of the Dirty Harry movies.
That's Deadpool, yeah.
Yeah, that's the 5th one. Is that quite a serious movie?
It is, yeah.
Yeah,
It was,
weird.
I think his first film job he ever did.
Wow. Huh.
Yeah. It's funny how you get to those kind of like suddenly you get
People who suddenly change genres to what
Yeah.
they're normally doing.
Yeah. But anyway, that's gone suddenly from
What's-
vampires to
Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey.
So, do we have favourite vampire films?
Oh yes. Well, it's a difficult one, that one, because I really love the Hammer, Christopher Lee Hammer Dracula movies.
Classics.
They're just so classic.
Oh, that goes down to favourite interpretation of Dracula.
know.
For me, it's got to be Christopher Lee.
There's just so many different vampire movies out there that spring to mind, and they all have their pros and cons. There's this, you can grab out different movies things that you absolutely love, you know.
Yeah.
I like, for example, 28 Days Later. It's 28 Days, not 28 Days. The one in the North Pole or Alaska.
Oh, 30 Days
of Night.
That's
yes.
it. 30 Days. Not. I really,
Originally a graphic novel.
yeah, I really enjoyed that, the way they did that, because it was like, what a brilliant idea. If you're vampires, go somewhere where
Yeah.
there's no daylight. You know?
So, I've always loved the first Blade film.
Yes.
Yeah.
The music, the fight sequences, but hands down, and when it came out of the cinema, it just, everybody who hadn't seen it or hadn't read anything about it, it blew their mind.
Okay, which one are you going to come for?
From dusk till dawn.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
that's a
Because it
yeah.
starts off as a typical
Thelma- What's
Tarantino
it?
crime
Hayek,
movie.
Selma
Selma Hayek.
Hayek,
Yeah.
that's it. I mean,
And then out of
that's
nowhere,
burnt into my memory as a teenager.
yeah, out of nowhere, it just turns into
Yeah, because you watch that movie, and you say it's one of those movies, and you do get those movies where you don't realise where it's going.
Yeah.
But an honourable mention has to go to the Lost Boys.
Oh yes, that's
Lost
a
Boys.
prime example. Prime example.
Lost Boys.
That is your prime teenage
Joel
vampire
Schumacher.
movie. Yeah, that's a classic.
Yeah.
You know what this film needs? A guy with a saxophone.
Oiled up. Don't forget the oil.
The hilarious thing is with the sequels, so they got the guy back to reprise his role as the saxophonist.
Did they?
Yeah.
Which
Wow.
was that?
And he doesn't look anything like he looks in the first film, but he's wearing the same outfit.
Well, because I literally today I ordered the trilogy.
Oh really?
Blu-ray.
I've got them all.
'Cause there's,
Yeah.
there's the
Oh.
Tribe.
And the Thirst.
And the First,
There's the
yeah.
one that's got the Frog Brothers in it, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yes, yes. You're right. But then again, you got other ones which are a bit like Van Helsing, which is a fun movie, but it's the brides.
Yeah.
There's some wicked brides.
Too
in that.
much CGI in that for me.
Yeah, I know.
I think that kind of helped bring the age rating down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's the brides in that.
That's your one point on that film.
Yeah, especially the blonde.
Yeah, I think wasn't one of them Monica Bellucci,
Oh,
who was a Bond girl.
all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and in The Matrix. She was in The Matrix as well.
Yeah. So what else have we got? Vampire movies that spring to mind, boys.
Well, we recently watched John Carpenter's
Vampires.
Vampires. That was actually an unexpected treat, actually.
It's a bit slow for me. I enjoy it. I will watch it. In fact, I'm pretty sure I've got it at home
Of
on
course, yeah.
DVD. And James Woods. He's
Yes.
brilliant in it. He really is. He's your typical John Carpenter anti-hero type person.
The one-liners he comes out with, like, hey, what you gonna do? Bite my ass?
You're gonna get off on that, aren't you?
You're gonna really get off on that. You're dressed like a pole dancer. Yeah, and of course you got your crossovers. You got your vampires, werewolves, like what's we call it with Kate Beckinsale. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Underworld.
You see, I refuse to watch that.
Yeah.
I refuse to watch that because myself and my then girlfriend, we were working on a screenplay which was very similar but more of a romance side to it.
They ripped you off, did they?
They ripped us off big time.
Damn.
Yeah.
You can't blame it on Alexa listening online.
No, not back then. No.
Back then. But yeah, no, there's some absolutely stunning vampire movies around.
I'm just trying to think of kind of more obscure ones like Life Force, where there's space vampires.
I watched it a long time ago, and it's got quite a cult following, but I didn't enjoy it that much.
Yeah, it's one of those you either love it or you hate it kind of movies. But
I thought it was different. It's more about kind of the energy drain and the blood.
Here's one for you, and you might not know this one, Zach.
Ooh.
You probably will.
I'm excited.
He's pointing at me because I'm the old fire.
I bought a vampire motorcycle.
Oh yeah, I bought that vampire motorcycle. Yeah.
No way! I saw that in Letchworth for sale. Is it any good?
Yeah, it's fun.
Is it a good one? Or is it could be bad.
It's what it says.
It is what it is.
It's what it is. When you buy a movie called I Bought a Vampire Motorcycle, it's what it is.
All right, I'm going to pick that up.
Actually, yeah. There was another movie that made me laugh. I don't know if you thought it was funny. What was that one with the vampire lesbians?
Lesbian vampire killer.
Yeah, that was really funny.
Yeah, I must admit, I started watching it and
Had Paul McGann.
Paul McGann, yeah. And a couple of the other actors, the guy who didn't he end up being a show host in America?
Oh yeah, James Corden.
That's it. It was a funny movie. It was a funny movie.
Get some countryside air. It's just like normal air, but with cow shit in
Now there's a movie quote.
That's good country air.
That's good country air.
It had Paul McGann in it as well. It was
he was a priest. Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Well, there you go, vampires. What a fantastic visit down memory lane for the Now We Know show.
Tell you what, we're going to have to come back. There's obviously more to say on vampires.
Yeah, I think we need to watch I Bought a Vampire Motorcycle.
Yeah, I'm going to have to get that. Do a special episode for that.
And I've got to say, there's one vampire movie that I really do like that suddenly sprung to mind. I don't know why it didn't just come out there before we sign off, and that's Near Dark.
Oh, yes. Near Dark.
Do you know what? I watched it years ago and I keep meaning to go back and watch it again.
Go watch Near Dark.
Because, Lance Henriksen...
Yeah, it literally has half of the people out
from
of
Aliens.
And in fact, the director... Who was the director on that one?
That was James Cameron's wife.
His wife.
Oh, was it his wife?
Yeah.
Asked James Cameron... He did Aliens, didn't he?
Yeah.
So she asked specifically if she could use the actors because they'd literally just been in Alien. So, but that was fantastic. I loved it, and the fact is the vampires don't actually have fangs in it as well, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool. But yeah, Near Dark. I'm going to finish off. There's a scene in that one, and I love the scene where the girl is trying to get the guy. She's like, listen to the darkness, listen to the silence, because the silence is just so deafening. And I thought that really sums it up, because sometimes when you do listen to silence, it can be quite deafening. You
kind of get that buzz in your ears.
Buzz in your ear, because obviously being that she's a vampire, she can hear so much more.
Echolocation. Oh crikey! Do you remember Morbius?
Oh God, that was awful.
No.
I don't want to remember it.
No.
But you just reminded me of something.
But it would continue.
The way the vampires look at the world differently. Interview with a Vampire.
Oh yeah.
There's a really good section where he describes how he sees the world. And it culminates with like being at a cinema and seeing a sunset, because he's not been able to see a sunset for a couple of 100 years. And it's.
Have you seen the sequel, Queen of the Damned?
Oh yes. Everyone got that.
Yeah. It was a long time ago though. I couldn't really say much about it.
Yeah, it's hard. They kind of changed the main actor as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. They were never going to get Tom Cruise again.
Yeah. What's his name?
Lestat.
Lestat. That's it.
Yeah.
He comes back as a rock star.
Yeah.
Which is a bit bizarre. But there you go. Whatever. Anyhow, there's vampires. We're done it. Superb. Glenn, thank you for coming in on this one.
No, honestly, Fangs a lot.
Fangs a lot.
Boom.
I think we should leave it there. Boom.
Thank you very much, listeners, and we hope you enjoyed the Now We Know Show flashback. We appreciate your continued support of Zak Wylde Productions, so stay tuned for future episodes. I'm Zak.
I'm Buzz.
I'm Glenn.
This has been the Now We Know Show flashback.